And as usual, I'm joined by my homie, compadre, co-host in crime, Mr. Wayne Breezy Brown. What's popping, Wayne?
What's going on, everybody out there? What's good, man?
I'm
Yeah,
good, man. I'm living, chilling. Been a few days without a game, so it's a bit dry out here in these streets.
yeah, man. It's like when Celtics don't play, you're forced to watch other teams play. First of all, I just want to send my prayers to Kyrie Irving, man. That was a nasty injury, and I pray to a speedy recovery for him, man.
Right before a contract as well, dude, man. That's just such
Big
a hammer
contract
blow.
too, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
max
such a hammer
contract.
blow. Guy's having an amazing year.
Yeah,
It's rough, man. It's rough. Uh, and that's part and problem. I mean, they got like Dallas got hit hard with Jaden Hardy went out after for a few weeks. They've already got issues with with AD. But then that was the risk. It's just, and this is kind of where I was with the Sixers during the off season as well, right? Like, and the Sixers more so, but they knew Joel Embiid had injury issues, and then they went and bought in Paul George, who they know has injury issues. So it's like, yo, you're banking on two guys being healthy at the exact same moment. It's lesser in Dallas, obviously. Like, AD was the only guy with the injury concerns. This Kyrie stuff was just very unfortunate. But when you've got a couple of aging stars and you built around aging dudes, you do run that risk a little bit more.
you definitely do. And speaking of injuries, which leads into our first segue. I'm a tad bit concerned about the Celtics, with the injuries to especially like key role players. You look at Drew Holiday,
Yeah.
and his injuries and his impact, not being on the court. We already know what his impact is on the court, and then when he's not there, how much do you think that finger injury has been affecting his shooting and just things like that? And will it hinder him moving forward? How do you? It's not like it's weird. It's basketball, so it's got to be a serious injury because it has to do with his finger. But how do you think the Celtics can kind of like move around that and moving forward?
Yeah, I mean that injury is on his shooting hand, right? So it's on his right hand, the same hands that he shoots with. If he comes back, I'd expect him to avoid taking jumpers for a while, mainly because
Mm,
you know, if I recall, I'm sure it's like one of the latter fingers, like his pinky or something like
yeah,
that. Which, like,
it won't
when
go
you shoot a
straight.
basketball and you're trying to shoot, like I was always taught, like your two front fingers here, like guide the ball. But like if your pinky's messed up, the way you flick your wrist is going to be weird, and just the way the ball
Ah,
leaves your hand because you're shooting off your fingertips, it's going to feel weird that way too. I'd assume that he's just more of a defensive role, maybe play a bit more of as a connector. That hurts because last season his ability to knock down shots from the corners was
correct.
huge. He was the best corner 3-point shooter in the league at the time. He hasn't really been that guy this year. Dealt with a couple of injuries. He had the shoulder impingement coming into coming into the All Star break, and now he's got the finger injury. When he does come back, and I know there was I saw Bobby Manning tweet this out yesterday that there was a chance that Drew would play against Portland. If he does, if he doesn't really make a difference. Yeah, it affects the rotation, but you want him to be healthy. But when he is back, I'd expect this to be offhand layups, up and unders around the rim, and very few jump shots. Just because, again, you don't want to put extra pressure on that finger where you don't need to.
Yeah, and I agree with that. It's like I want the full Drew, not a half Drew. As far as just him being a defensive role, I mean, the Celtics can probably find shooting from other players. His scoring hasn't been up all season, so the issue is that he's already going to be limited. Teams are going to know that. They're probably going to cheat, right? Like, he's not going to probably take those shots. I want him to take those shots. But we'll see what happens. Maybe the pinky doesn't affect the shooting. We're just thinking on the shooting hand, it's going to affect the shot in some way. And it just kind of seems like he's been a little off. But if he can score inside and still be effective, inside the paint, that's still good, and move the ball, and his intangible, like that defense that he plays, we need that. We need him because he's
The
our best
defense is key.
rotating defensive player. I think Tatum and then him. I feel like they're the best rotating pieces on defense that we have.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, point of attack defense, Drew, Derek. In terms of switchability, being able to guard multiple positions,
Yeah,
Drew is
that's what I meant. Yeah.
one of your best guys there. I
Hmm.
think that offensively as well, there's more than just layups that you can get from Drew, but you've just got to alter your offense a little bit. So
Mm.
you can ask him to get some floaters off, some little push shots, There's ways that he can hit some mid-range shots without needing to do a true jumper. Get that floater, push it off your palm a bit more, get those push shots. You like Rashawn Holmes, who has made a living off those like right hand mid range push shots coming off the pick and roll. But he's a roller more, so you'll hit him and then he'll kind of hit that push shot. But there's ways you can still be an effective offensive piece. And again, Drew's a really good playmaker, so you could put the ball in his hand, but how comfortable is his dribble going to be in traffic, especially when guys are swiping at it? And as you said, guys will probably swipe down, swipe across a little bit more at that hand just to try and aggravate him. But defense, and if he comes in, just make smart passes, make smart reads, runs the offense a little bit more, allows JT and JB to be off ball. You've got Derek White, who's just a ridiculously good catch and shoot threat these days. There's ways where you can still get a high level production out of Drew Holiday without asking him to be a scoring threat.
I agree with that. I do agree with that. And I don't think he hinders the team a bit, other than him just in his health and Joe trying to figure out the rotation and who you're gonna go with the lineup, depending on the matchups, right? Like depending on who we're playing. Let's talk about our bench though, like because the bench is weird because I feel like if Pritchard isn't on, the bench is off. Now,
yeah, that's fair.
Before we get to the bench, I do want to give Al Horford a freaking like salute because when the old fella has been he put together a really good game. I feel like the past 2 games, even in the loss and in the win that we just won, I feel like he's been putting in some really good work due to the illness to Kristaps Porzingis, who I'm hoping is back for tonight's matchup.
Yeah, I mean, Al Horford has reached Unk status, right? He's Unk
for sure.
Straight up Unk. He's Unk status now. Unk's been putting in that work, that old school kind of throwback vibe, Al Horford. And what I like about him is the way he's playing right now is exactly what you'd want from a dude that's got Unk status. Everything is intelligent, it's methodical. He's not trying to do too much. He's just doing really well with what he's trying to do. Rebounds well, passes well, makes the right read, plays hardcore defense, hits his shots when he needs to. Like Unk out here balling, so I'm with you, man. I'll give that salute straight away. I think that Porzingis just elevates this team, and it's a thing that we know. I don't think we're making any earth-shattering predictions or any earth-shattering proclamations here. KD makes this team better. Sorry, KP makes this team better. Rim protection, the way he can spread the floor and offense, blah, 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 blah. I want him back, but at the same time, I don't want to rush dudes back. We're getting dangerously close to the postseason now, and health is of the utmost importance. So I think that until you feel guys, and like, look, no one's ever at 100% at this point in the season, right? We're too far gone for that.
Yeah,
you're asking for like 90 to 94%. That's like your peak physical level at this moment. Mm-hmm. So as long as he's above 85%, I feel comfortable putting him in that rotation because you need to get the reps in. If he's below 85%, maybe you bring him off the bench. Maybe you sit him for one more game, whatever you need to do. But the fact that he's been in and out of the rotation all season, the same with Drew, the same to a lesser extent going to that bench point of Sam Hauser, who's just been hot and cold like crazy, dude. Like English weather is Sam Hauser right now. You don't know what you're getting every day. You wake up, it's sunny, but then all of a sudden it's pouring and rain. You wake up and it's raining. Next thing you know, you put a coat on, now you're sweating because it's like blistering hot. You just don't know where you stand with him right now. And for a guy that's been super consistent, and his shooting numbers are still consistent, but it does feel like it's coming in flurries right now. I agree. I think that bench is very over-reliant on what Peyton Pritchard brings to the floor.
I agree, man. And, you talk about Sam Hauser, and it's like you want to love him, You want to love him. You want to love him for his ability to just shoot the 3-point and it looks smooth, but it's either on or it's either off. It's never like mid, right? Like he's either hot or he's just ice freaking cold. Sometimes it's deep, depending on who he has to defend, he's good. But you put these athletic guys that are just quicker than him, he's going to struggle. I mean, if you go back to the Cleveland game, I don't understand Joe Mazzulla in that game. I don't understand what our head coach was trying to prove in that game. And Sam Hauser was clearly the liability on the basketball court. And once the Cavaliers adjusted to what Sam Hauser was doing, they just went at him and he couldn't defend anybody. Like he couldn't hold down his defensive assignments. That caused them to have that crazy run. And the Celtics couldn't recover. And it's just like, Joe, at that point, when you needed you signed a guy. Well, Brad signed a guy specifically for purposes like this to stop a nosebleed. And you saw Cavaliers going on this little charge. Craig could have came in the game at that point, gave Hauser some minutes so he could just get back into catching and shooting. I'm telling you, that just needs to be his role. Catch and shoot, bro. Like, that's it, man. Come in, run off, run around, get to the spot, pop three. If you go in and go in and when you have him expending his energy defensively, I'm not going to expect him to shoot well. And so when he's running all around the court, not up and down the court, but all around the court, I think that takes a lot of his shooting energy away. And that's why he can't really get going. Then he's in his own head. And so that Cleveland Cavaliers loss was a tough one for me because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why our coach wasn't trying to solve it. Like
yeah,
that bothered me, bro.
I mean, I've defended Hauser quite a bit after that game, so I'm just gonna put this out there, and I definitely want your thoughts on this as well. I understand the frustration that he got targeted. I understand the frustration that there was no coaching, like adjustments from the coaching staff, whether that be to try and scram Hauser out of mismatches, send somebody over to kind of give him some secondary support, like digging as he gets beat or whatever. But in terms of Hauser himself, like the two guys that hunted him were all-star level guys, right? Like Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland. And Hauser is a very good bench player. He's a very good role-playing forward. Now, when we're setting the bar for being a good, like, rotation defender, if we're setting that bar at being able to stop all-stars, like, that's a ridiculously high bar because there's a bunch of starters out there that were going to get cooked the exact same way that Hauser did. You know, more starters than not. Only the elite of the elite defenders are containing, like, Mitchell, containing Garland. So the fact that Hauser got smoked, to me, wasn't on Hauser as much because, these guys are stars for a reason. Like, you're not meant to be able to stop them if you're just a role player. They're meant to hunt you. So that was my defense of Hauser as, like, himself. Like, dude, if we're judging you on how you guard Donovan Mitchell, like, we're all being a bit disingenuous here.
Yeah, but that's not where I was going with it. I just wanted to clarify that. Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
I just wanted to put that out for anyone watching.
For sure.
But like, in terms of like the defensive schemes, like if Hauser's being hunted, adjust. Maybe you put him in the corner a bit. So when they do hunt him, now you've got an extra body that can switch over, or maybe you play some zone. And I know they went to zone and it got busted.
They did.
Or you can scram guys out of there. You know, you get a bad mismatch. We find a way to get to force a switch. We X out more. There's opportunity, like X out off rebound. Sorry, there's opportunities and ways that you can scheme that. But at the same time, when you're trying to scram guys out of there, you're creating gaps that can be beat off the bounce anyway, especially with somebody as explosive as Mitchell. And that's part of the chess battle, right? Is like, how do we have these role players that do specific things, and when they're getting targeted, how do we fix that? And the coach that figures that out the fastest usually takes the advantage throughout the game. And I think that Atkinson figured out how Boston was going. Like, you know, it's not like Tatum wasn't hunting Garland. It's not like Tatum wasn't hunting Allen. He was getting mismatches on those two fools and cooking them. Do you know what I mean? But Atkinson was the one that adjusted defensively and then said to Mitchell, now go and test how they react. Now go and hunt Hauser and let's see what Joe does to where his next chess move is. And, you know, it was one of those times, you know, when you're watching a chess game and you got people like, and it's really fast, all of a sudden, move, click, click. And then all of a sudden,
speed chess here.
And then all of a sudden, the dude runs into a spot and, like, now he's pondering. He's like lifting his piece, he's moving it. It doesn't want to take his finger off it because then it's official, puts it back. That's where I felt like Joe got stuck. I feel like sometimes his adjustments come a step or two steps too late. Sometimes they're great and they're genius masterstroke. But at this specific time, the stubbornness would probably be what I'd say. The stubbornness in trying to stick with what you were doing just didn't work.
And I'm going to need him to adjust. Now, listen, let me just be clear. I respect our head coach. I respect all coaches. I respect guys that are leaders of the teams because everybody has their stubbornness, their ways. It's their way, right? I get it. But there's sometimes that's where your other coaches need to come in and kind of like check in the right, proper way. I just feel like, for one, I just want to clarify that I'm not blaming Hauser because you.
Oh, for sure. And I didn't. No.
That was dope, though. The way you broke that down on who his assignment was. Ain't no way in the world you're expecting Sam Hauser to defend all-star level players, right? He's not even an all-star. If he was an all-star, it'd be a different conversation. Then we could focus the shift on him. But he was taking on his assignment, and it was just too great for him. That is where the coaching comes in. And that down the stretch, I get it was one game, but do you know how mentally that mental advantage you would have had over beating the team 3-1 in the regular season would have gone into a playoff series if you faced them in the NBA finals, conference finals? Do you know that mental edge you would have had? Oh, man, we could beat this team. We've done it 3 times, man. We've done it coming back. We've done it blowing them out. We've done it grinding. Like you get what I'm saying? So
yeah.
Now that the series is tied 2-2 because we couldn't adjust, I give the credit to Cleveland. And I don't want to stay on this game because we won the next game, but we saw the same trajectory starting to happen in the Denver Nuggets game, if we're going to be honest. Because when you look at Jamal Murray, he was ass trash in the first half, and then he came back in the third quarter and was MVP. He was the best player in the game. Went on a scoring spree, couldn't stop him. And I was like, dear God, please don't let him heat up. He's the key. I get it. Jokic is their best player. But going back to that Cleveland game, I need Mazzulla to kind of like realize, all right, and he's got pieces to try. That's all I'm asking. You just try. Put in Craig, see if Craig can keep up with some of these. He's not an all-star stopper either, but he's a better defender, in my opinion. 3-and-D guy that can't find his shot yet because he just hasn't shot much with the Celtics because he hasn't given enough minutes. But he's a better defender, I think, overall than Sam Hauser. I would have liked to see that adjustment or any other type of adjustment that you just mentioned. So, Coach Joe Mazzulla, if you're watching this, great head coach, championship head coach. At the end of the day, it's all about how do you make many adjustments moving forward, because every team is coming to beat the Boston Celtics. No one's laying down for the team for the world champs. Yeah, I said world champs. No one's laying down for the world champs. I'm just gonna keep it a buck. Speaking of world champs, before we get to our next thing, I don't know if you have HBO Max.
No, that doesn't even exist here, dude.
You have to be kidding. You could just download the goddamn app, right?
It doesn't exist. Like,
okay,
the app
I believe
it's
you.
not on my app store.
Oh, damn. How do I gotta figure out how to get you to see it then.
So like the only way, like, I got a VPN, right?
Okay,
so
say less. We don't even got to talk about it then. All right, I need you to watch it. I don't want you to get trouble.
I don't have access, right? I got the VPN to get the app, but then you can't create an account because you're not from that country.
Oh,
so it's like, your bank
okay,
account
we'll talk.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll figure it out. So let me say this. That was the first episode of the Celtics series on Max. It connected so many dots from a historical standpoint of why the Celtics are just the greatest team in the NBA. Like, overall, the greatest franchise, because it took you back to Red Auerbach and his coaching and management of the team, and watching Cousy play with oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank, Bill Russell, and watching that team work and how great and dominant that team was once they acquired Bill Russell. Like, they couldn't win until they got Bill Russell, and then they get Bill Russell, and then they go on this tearing spree and they start winning. And then the Bill Russell Cousy got divided from a reporter, bro. I didn't know any of this history. Okay. They got divided by a reporter that took words that Bill Russell said and changed it up. And I guess Cousy asked for a trade, and that's when Cousy left the Celtics. I'm just like, yo, I love this series. I can't wait till it transitions into the era of the Larry Bird era, which was when I started watching the Celtics. But I can't wait to see how they transition. It's a great series. Shout out to the producers of the show. They ain't paying us to say it, but I just wanted to give that a shout out. So yeah, for sure. We keep it in the
sure, man. I need to watch that myself anyway, man. I'll figure
it
out.
Bro, I was like in tears, bro. Like, just the history of just the in America, like the world, the racism, the segregation, all that type of stuff, man, and just how it's just I can't wait till you see the first episode. I'll leave it at that.
For sure, man. And we'll do an episode, man. We'll talk about it, and I'll definitely hit you up on the side, and we'll speak about it there too. Talking of which, we're going to segue over, but we've just been talking about Hauser quite a bit, so I want to kind of stick with that in a way, and like
Ooh.
But before I do, I just want to give a shout out to Jax. Jax is leaving some comments in
Hey,
the chat over
Jax.
on YouTube. Said hey to us
She's a
both.
Celtics fan, man. Die
Full,
hard.
die hard. That's what I like to hear, man. Jax, man, you're rocking with us on every live stream. Just want to say we see you. So, and thank you. Obviously, that's also very important.
I just want to put out there that she can't spell, but it's cool. We knew she meant Hauser, right?
Yeah. I knew that. I wasn't even pointing that out.
My bad. Jax, my bad.
So moving on, I want to talk about the addition of Miles Norris, right? So the Celtics beat the Nuggets on Sunday. If anyone's watching right now, head over to the CelticsChronicle.com. I got a breakdown on the Celtics defensive schemes that led to that win and how they limited Jokic. CelticsChronicle.com, sign up. Nearly at the bestseller status. I think I got 3 paid subscribers left until I get a little check, and it's like this page is a bestseller. I really want that, to be honest with you, just for the ego boost. So head over CelticsChronicle.com. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe right now. Hit subscribe, hit that bell button on the channel, get updates when we post. We post daily. Moving on. So Miles Norris, right? The Celtics beat the Nuggets on Sunday. It's a matinee game. I get to watch it here early. Then from there, the Celtics get rid of Watson. Wave Watson. I'm asleep now. I see they waive him. I do what I need to do. I'll go to bed. I wake up the next morning to see they've signed Miles Norris, who's a sharpshooter, good size, good measurables, been killing it down in the G League for the Memphis Hustle. Celtics signed him to a 2-year, 2-way contract, right? Now, what I like about this is I see some similarities between Norris and Luke Corner in terms of their journey, just bouncing around the G League a little bit. But I see more similarities between Norris and Sam Hauser. Both guys came into the league undrafted. Both guys are sharpshooters. That's where the similarities end, to be quite honest with you. Well, both guys are in Maine now, so there you go. That were in Maine. Sam was in Maine.
Sam was in Maine.
Sam got signed on a 2-way deal after going undrafted out of Virginia. I remember this because I think I was the first guy to get an exclusive with him. Like, so I hit the Celtics signed him to a 2-way deal. I had him on a podcast about a week later.
Really?
Yeah. So he was on a 2-way, I think, and like we went through what he was aiming for, blah blah blah. Then he makes it to the regular team. Now he's an NBA champion, and we're talking about how much of a core piece he is and why it's important.
Definitely a core piece.
Why it's important you scheme to keep him protected defensively. I feel like Miles Norris is that same prototype, right? Same good size, can play a couple, like both the 3 and the 4 a little bit, can probably slide down to the 2 if you go super big, converts, like hits his shots around the perimeter. I've been watching some game tape on him, and the one thing I really like is he doesn't need the ball to be passed straight to his shooting pocket to be an effective shooter. So there's a couple of clips where he's had to like bend down to catch the pass, right? And he still found his pocket and got his shot off while the defender's closing out and drain that shit. So I think that there's upside there. I'm not saying he's going to make the roster or nothing, but in terms of just having somebody to back up Hauser on games where Hauser hasn't got it. Last year, you had Svi Mikhailuk to do that. If Hauser wasn't shooting well, you could lean on Svi to come in and give you that shooting boost. Now, I don't know how many games Norris is allowed to play because of the 2-way restrictions and where we are in the season. But if he's available for a couple of games in the years off the bench and Hauser doesn't have it, you now have another highlight for, what is he, 37, 38, 39% 3-point shooter to come off the bench and just play catch and shoot game. Yeah. It just gives you that extra little bit of depth. It also gives Hauser that extra bit of competition, which is important. And now you've got Torrey Craig as well. 5 weeks ago, the wing depth was a real issue, and I know it's a 2-way contract, but now all of a sudden you've got decent depth at the wing position. So I actually really like that pickup. But I was a fan of Anton Watson, right? So to see him get waived so soon after being drafted was shocking. Now he's landed in New York. I hope he figures it out there.
First of all, let me just say I like the pickup. And that roster spot's still open. So this is really a big audition for him. And it's not I don't think it's anything to degrade Sam Hauser. Sam Hauser's a lock. Let me just keep that above. And I want people to understand that I love Sam Hauser. Speaking of Sam Hauser, quick story. My best, I call him my uncle because he's older than me, but he's a really good friend. I'm one of his keyboard players in his band. He has connections to Sam Hauser as well because his girlfriend used to coach his sister in volleyball. So
Okay.
that's the connection. So she's been like, "Oh, I'm gonna get Sam on the show. Still waiting for you to get Sam on the show, but we'll try to get Sam back here on the show now that he's a pro. You know what I'm saying? I love Sam Hauser and his role. It's just when he has to do something outside of his role, I feel like there's too much thinking going on and too much energy being spent, and that's when he struggles. If Sam just came in and just was a sharpshooter and that was his role, which would probably be like the role of uh, the kid that we just signed to the two-way contract, you'd see a much different Sam. Like you'll get much more production from Sam. I think Sam, because he's an intricate part of the team and he actually on the roster, he has to figure out other things that he can do as far as, be a better defensive player. And let me just keep it a buck. And last year's tournament, last year's playoffs, I didn't recognize that Sam defensively. That was a different Sam. I didn't know Sam played defense that well. But now I realize, Adam, that it comes down to the players, that the competition that he's playing against. Not too many people, not too many all-stars can guard guys like Donovan Mitchell and those guys. So great job for Sam. Keep working, but definitely he needs to get back to shooting. But I like adding another sharpshooter. You broke that down perfectly, because if Sam does have to come off the court, Mazzulla doesn't have to change up anything. He just inserts the next sharpshooter, runs the same type of plays, and that guy can probably get his shots off, whatever. And so I like it. It gives the Celtics kind of like a preview of what they may try to do a little bit differently this year in the playoffs, because every team has adjusted to the Boston Celtics. Every team has been built to beat the Boston Celtics. You think that the Lakers trading for Luka was just for the future of after LeBron retiring? Hell no. Luka couldn't beat the Celtics in Dallas. So who did he go to? He didn't want to go there. He didn't know he was going there. But the simple fact, now that he's there, the Lakers look like they coming out of the West, bro. And guess where they coming? They coming to try to beat the Celtics. I still think we're coming out of the East. It's to me, I don't care who has the best record in the East. I know in 7 games, Cleveland's not beating us. Point blank, period. They're not beating us. I'm extra confident. They're not beating us in 7 games because after game 4, game 5, Mitchell will be gassed.
Do you know what makes me confident as well? Is Evan Mobley hasn't played his best when facing Boston this year. And whenever, for Cleveland, they need Mobley. If they're going to have a chance, they're going to have a chance of beating Boston.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, you can have Mitchell and Garland, but the Celtics have 5 guys that are going to cook you at all times. So you need at least 3 dudes that are going to try and cook back. Right, I think Hunter was a big pickup for them. I think he gives them some extra wing depth.
That was a beautiful pickup. Good point.
Great pickup. But I don't think I see him as a floor raiser, not a ceiling raiser. So really, I see his floor, like he's raised Cleveland's floor like dramatically.
But he doesn't change their ceiling, right?
I don't think he changes their ceiling too much.
But here's what you're missing, though, Adam. And this is why I love you, bro. He plays his best fucking basketball against what team?
Well, the same team everyone does, Boston. How many dudes can we name right now that we're just
like I'm telling you, Cleveland knew that they needed to get Celtics beaters. This is what teams do when you're great. Jaylen Brown said it best pre-season that we got the targets on our back. I love it. And the question is, and I've asked this question, I've asked this on my podcast, how do they adjust? Because, you can have the target on your back. That doesn't mean you got to get shot. It doesn't mean you got to get, beat. You'll lose some, but can you win the war? I'm okay losing a battle here and there. The Celtics, I think mindset-wise, our team realizes that this is war, and this is you're not going to
sure of that. Right?
Yeah, and you're not going to win every battle, but you damn sure better come out on top in the war. Like, you know what I mean? That's where I stand, and that's why I'm confident, Adam.
I think that's the hard part, right? When you're living on a game-to-game basis and it's like it's an 82-game season, you do get invested in like, oh man, they lost this game, that sucks. And now we got 2 days until they can put it right. So you do kind of live or die by each performance. In reality, it doesn't really work like that. And when you get to the end of the season, those same losses that like completely and utterly screwed your day up, a couple of times throughout the year, you don't even remember them too tough. You're just like, man, they lost this one. It just becomes a check mark. Everything's so reactionary and so like in the moment. I think this Celtics team do a great job of keeping everything in perspective. I'll give him that.
And that to me is where Coach Joe Mazzulla gets more credit, right? Like, you know, and he manages the team well. I just think in certain situations, his trust or stubbornness, just make the adjustment, bro. Like, it's okay. And if it doesn't work, go back to what you go back. You know,
I think I've said this before. I'll say it again. I think Joe is fantastic in game-to-game adjustments. I think he's brilliant in game adjustments. I think that's where we see some cracks.
Okay, and that's fine. New head coach.
I mean, no one can be perfect, bro. And when it comes to the playoffs, I'd much rather you be able to adjust game to game rather than the minutia within a game. And it's not like look, Joe's won games from his in-game adjustments many times. I'm not saying that he's not good at that. I'm just saying that if we were doing like a bar chart of what he's better at, in game would be lower than game to game. That's all I'm saying. And, you know, against Cleveland, his in game was just a bit lower, but his game to game is one of the reasons why they beat Denver.
No, so listen, you're on point. Like, you're never off point. Like, that's on
I am. Sometimes I'm wrong.
Nah, that was you want to talk about hitting a target. That was a target hitter right there. You get an explosive. That's the bomb drop right there. And that's what he does.
Board, you got the soundboard.
Oh yeah, man. You know, we come correct here on Celtics Chronicle, bro. We come correct. But now seriously, like, let's move to this game that we have coming up, because we're gonna be playing a young team that's going to play with nothing but energy, brother. Like, that's what we're going to get. We're going to get a full fucking dose of Dragon Ball Z energy, bro.
You can swear, dude. Curse, man. We're going to get a Kamehameha. Is that what we're going for?
Are we going to get... You see the Goku in behind you? I didn't even peep that. We're going to get a full Kame Super Saiyan 5 versus energy. The question is, can Tatum turn to Super Saiyan 6, something I don't think I've ever seen before?
I think that matchup's going to be key, right? Is the Tamani Kamara versus Jason Tatum matchup. Kamara's been one of the best defensive guys in the league recently. His matchup with Tatum, and do you know what I love about Kamara? Dude's a second-round pick.
Second-round pick, man.
Like, really, like, gritty and forced his way into like being a talking point. And if people are showing you love when you're playing on like a bum-ass Portland team, then you're really impressing people. So that matchup to me is key. Obviously, if Robert Williams plays, that's going to be great. I'd love to see Time Lord do some things, as long as he doesn't do too much. The Celtics have struggled against slip screens this year. Yeah. So having a lob threatening Rob that's going to operate in slip screens a lot, that's going to be interesting to see how they try and navigate that. But you are right, man. Tatum's going to have to be OG, like, you know, superstar Tatum, but Kamara's not going to make life easy at all.
Bro, I don't care who plays for their team. They're going to show up with energy. Yeah. And Celtics struggle in managing energy. And they struggle against that. That's period. That's a fact. If you watch the energetic teams that they have played, even in their wins, it's a struggle. And so I always, every game, man, every pregame, how do we set the tone? The Celtics need to set the tone. Don't wait for them. Don't be, there are two type of fighters, right? There's the fighters that are going to be more like the kind that wait for that first blow, and there's the fighters that's going to try to knock your ass out with the first blow.
Look, let me just say this as a dude that's done martial arts for literally all my life. There's value in both.
Yes,
right?
Like 100%.
There's no right or wrong way, but if you're a counter puncher, you better have some fast reflexes and good anticipation. And if you're a power puncher, you best have a strong jaw.
Oh my gosh. We just fucking Karate Kid this whole episode, bro. Like, I just realized we went Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do. Like, and right?
It's true though, right?
Like, they both work. They both work, but I need the Celtics to come out with some Cobra Kai tonight, like straight up.
Yeah, some balance, right?
Some balance. Yeah.
Can't be up. It needs to be like here.
Yeah. You're on point. You're on point.
Cobra. I'm a big Cobra Kai dude. I'm not
gonna
lie.
I fell in love with Cobra. I hated Cobra Kai growing up because I was a Danielson. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
But when you got to understand what Cobra Kai was, like, especially through this series, great series too, by the way, if you haven't watched it. Now you kind of fall in love with Cobra Kai. Like Cobra Kai was the shit, yo. Like,
you can train it. Like, I find it funny, man, because like throughout my years, like when I was doing stand up, I do a lot of grappling now. But when I was doing stand up, it was like you'd find gyms like that, right? Not like strike first, strike hard, but like You know, I've trained at Muay Thai gyms where it's like, yo, we're gonna make you into a killer, and you've got to be super aggressive. And
Yeah.
like, if you're on the street and someone says something, you better not take no shit because you train here. And if you
Yeah.
get bitched out, then
Yeah.
you know it looks bad on us when someone sees you walking in.
That's my kind of
There's
gym.
gyms like that out there. And, like,
My
and
kind of gym, bro.
that's not for me, man. So like, I'm more of a, I don't want to have to be that way. You know,
I think I think you can find balance in both, right? And like,
yeah, of course.
like, because I'm that way too now that I'm older. I'm more of the reserved kind of like, nah, we could figure out a different way. But you give me 20 years ago, bro. Oh, I was Cobra Kai all day.
All that smoke, bro. I want all that smoke.
Give it to me. Give it to me. And so tonight,
and that's worse, bro, because where you're from, guns illegal.
You're right.
Like,
It
guns
is
are not
worse.
legal here. Like,
It's-
I never
listen.
had to worry like, yo, I'm gonna get in a fight and someone's gonna shoot me.
Yeah, it's crazy here, man. Look, now that I'm older, I'm definitely a lot more wise. Word choice, attitude, all of that stuff, man. Because triggers we're not talking about triggers on the weapons, but triggers just to people, words, they will affect people in certain ways.
Jack's out here saying she kicks ass, period.
Yeah.
Point blank, period, on
Point
that
blank,
smoke.
period. That's all caps too. That's a yell. But not seriously, man. I need the Celtics to come out. You know, this is not
shit.
guns blazing with, but just with a game plan to be able to match energy. And if they can set the tone, man, I just, which version of the Celtics is going to show up? Like, who's going to be there? Who's going to be healthy? And once we get that healthy roster, that starting five, and who Joe's going to probably go with, and kind of like, we'll figure out the rotation later. But once we know who's going to be starting, I'm just curious to know, like, how do we come out and set the tone? Are we going to be passive or are we going to be aggressive? That's basically what we're talking about out there, guys, that's watching on YouTube. Are we going to be passive or are we going to be aggressive? We can win both ways. But the Celtics struggle against aggression, and when teams are more aggressive, it's a big hill to climb, man. Like,
Yeah.
It's like a big hill, and I don't want to climb hills unless we're playing juggernaut teams.
So I will say this: one of the best ways to check aggression early is to lay your hands on it. You know what I mean? So
Punch it in the mouth.
yeah, straight up, because people change their demeanor. Like, I remember someone told me back in the day, like, just poke them square in their chest and see if they're still on it. Because as soon as you do that, that fight or flight triggers, right? And they're
That's
like,
it.
oh shit, what do I do? Do the same coming up, like, tip off, go on a run. But I don't want you to go on too big of a run, because when the Celtics jump out to like 20, 30 point leads, things tend to go bad, right? It never goes the way you think it's gonna go.
Oh, you know why? Because they go and they start playing with their food. And I don't think I want to eat this today. I can eat this a little bit later. No, eat the food, the plate, the utensils. Eat your friend's
You know what
plate.
it reminds me of?
What?
Remember the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? And
Absolutely.
and then there's a scene in there, one of the episodes, where he used to put straws in his nose. And
Yes.
he used to, like, a strawberry and stuff. That's the Celtics when they're up by 20. They're like, yo, you want to see a funny thing? I want them to be like, yo, you want to see a dead body?
Right. Take me to Boys in the Hood. Yes, take me to that episode. Hey, you want to see a dead body? Take me to
Just
Stand
change
By
the
Me.
narrative, bro.
Yeah, man. They play with it, and then sometimes they just can't recover from it, bro.
Yeah.
That's what it is, and we're shocked. I'd be damned if we lose this game because we play with our food.
Yo, for anyone that's still watching, make sure you sign up make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notifications button. Also head over to CelticsChronicle.com. There will be a lot less movie references, but a lot more basketball conversation. But either way, I'm loving where we're going with this. So I'm taking the Celtics to win this game. I do think that it's going to be fun. I think that I like watching Boston when they're forced to play at a pace that's faster than what they like to play at.
Okay, it's like a test for them, right? Like, it's like a test of
Plus, they're so explosive, and they don't really like, if you're giving Jaylen Brown open runs up and down the court, that dude's just going to jump over everybody every time. He's so explosive. Tatum is sneaky athletic. He does like 4 or 5 dunks a year that make you be like.
I'm liking his thrust though to the basket as of lately. He has a thrust. It's like you ever watch what was the movie? Was that we got movie right? Fast and Furious. Is that with the Nas? The Nas?
Yeah, which one to 10?
It don't matter. As long as
all 10.
It seems like Tatum's been hitting that button recently, and it's just like a thrust, and it's just like, oh shoot, stand back.
Can you believe Ja Rule was in that movie?
Was Ja Rule in one of those?
Yeah,
He was in part 2, right?
Yeah, and he had to drive the car, and the girl was like, "Yo,
I
if you
remember.
win, you get me, but if you win or lose, you get me, but if you win, you get her too." And then he lost, and he didn't get no one. It was hilarious because just after that, 50 Cent ended his career, and that was hilarious too.
Well, the crazy story behind that was this was before Ludacris entered the scene, and the series was offered to Ja Rule, and I don't know if you know what happened, but the guy didn't answer his phone.
Well, they were going to offer him Luda guy, so I'm so glad that Luda got it and not Ja Rule.
But isn't that crazy? Like, bro, you were in part 2. I believe it was part 2, and then you didn't answer the phone to be in the. He didn't. I guess he didn't believe it was going to be a 9-10 series movie, and damn, you missed out on guap. Anyway,
because he was part 1, right? Because then Luda was part
1. Yeah, my bad. I'm getting it mixed up.
An early race in part 1,
yes,
and then Luda was part 2 through. And obviously, we've got hella off track here, but
yeah,
you know,
no, we
now,
did.
If
we still talking about
if they were
hitting
the Hawks, we'd still be on track because then we could tie Luda into the Hawks and
Luda, Atlanta. I see what you did.
But we can't, so you know, we shan't.
I see what you did.
Yeah, look, Portland don't scare me at all. Rebuilding team. It's a trap game as far as I'm concerned. You're coming off multiple days rest. You haven't played since Sunday. It's Wednesday now. You're up against a young team. You might be taking them a bit lightly. There is an air of a trap game here.
Okay.
But if you handle your business, you play the way you should, this should be a win.
Suns going to come on, beat they ass. End of discussion. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, make sure you hit that subscribe. Make sure you hit that like button. We'll be back again every Wednesday. Me and Wayne do a live stream. Billy and I also have videos going up multiple times per week, pretty much every day. They're a bit shorter. We just focus on one topic at a time. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Anyone watching on Twitter, make sure you go and subscribe to the Substance Chronicles. Subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Subscribe, guys.
And we love y'all. Peace. That was hella fun, dude.
Yeah, they have to be, man. We just